Hello and welcome to my webinar series all about the 6 foundations of nutritional therapy. I created this series because I want to empower and educate you to become your own healthcare advocate, and I want to teach you how to seek out your own holistic root cause health and wellness over simply putting a band-aid on your symptoms. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about myself, my story, and what nutritional therapy is and why it pretty much needs to be a part of your life. My name is Molly Fair, or Molly Fair Fitness, on all of my social media outlets, and I live in Southern Oregon, and first and foremost, I'm a mom of 4 amazing kids. I have 3 boys, as you can see in this picture, and 1 girl. My oldest boy, who's actually the blonde one, he's 17, then I have 15, 12, and my daughter's currently 10. I also have a pretty incredible husband who supports me in all of my crazy, and I'm pretty sure he's the only man on the planet who could handle me. So I will thank my lucky stars for such a great man. Some of the biggest influences in my life are my faith, my family, and music. I actually graduated from college as a music therapist, and whereas music is still a really big part of my life, it's no longer my career pathway of choice. And for the last several years, my mess has become my message, and I passionately work daily to help women, like you, find physical, spiritual, and mental health through exercise, nutrition, and lifestyle. I believe in a balance of not living in extremes, and a life of focused discipline over white-knuckle willpowering our way through life. So, what is my mess that became my message? I like this image that I used in this slide. It says, God often uses our deepest pain as the launching pad of our greatest calling. And so what I want to do now is to share my story with you. And it's about to get real, okay? I'm going to share some things, maybe give you a little bit of TMI, but this is my story. I was one of those very skinny girls who could eat whatever she wanted but still hated her body. I was very self-conscious, and I remember moving to a new school when I was 14 and walking down the hall, and one of the popular boys called me chicken legs. And from that moment on, I became very self-conscious, and I wore baggy clothes all through high school and even into college. Whereas some people were being fat shamed, I felt like I was being skinny shamed. And I was very embarrassed about how skinny I was. So fast forward through college and into marriage, I was still skinny, and I was able to maintain my pre-pregnancy weight after my first couple of pregnancies. However, after the 3rd and 4th baby, I began to notice that I couldn't get the baby weight off as easily. And all of a sudden, I now had to start paying attention to what I ate. I hated it, and I often rebelled by binging on all the things, all the food. Growing up, we ate a lot of healthy food, but we're also sucked into the low-fat way of life, eating margarine over butter and skim milk over whole raw milk. We had salad almost every night, but we used vegetable oil and vinegar as a dressing because vegetable oil was supposed to be healthier for us. And I'm sure a lot of you know what I'm talking about. A lot of you probably grew up that way too, in the low-fat era, which I think is now changing. And we'll talk more about that in my webinar all about fat. But in my story, in addition to all the healthy food, we also had a lot of junk food. It was a family joke that chips, pop, and candy should be represented in our family crest. My granny literally had a candy room where the drawers and closets were full of candy. She loved a bargain, so whenever she found a really good deal on candy, the day after Halloween and Christmas, she would stock up. I also remember stacks of pop, chips, cookie, and crackers in her pantry. We loved that about our house, of course, and I loved my granny so much, but looking back, I realized how crazy bad that was for us, and how it played a role in putting me on the road of being sugar addicted, skinny fat, a binge eater, and an autoimmune gut health thyroid sufferer. Yeah, awesome, I know. Okay, so back to my story. Despite the struggles that I began having with food and keeping the weight off, I was still pretty healthy in my own eyes. I still basically ate all the things, and my childhood days of sugar, chips, and candy were still a norm, and I tried to lose weight by exercising more and restricting calories, which I wasn't very good at because I really like to eat, and I still do. But back then, I would punish myself in the gym. And now this is where my story really takes a turn for the worse, and I wouldn't wish what happened to me next on the world's worst mean girl. I began living my own personal hell. I remember it so clearly. I had 4 little kids and my daughter was almost 1 year old. It was Thanksgiving and we were at my sister-in-law's house. I began to get symptoms of what I found out later was my first bacterial infection. Yes, a vaginal bacterial infection. If you've ever had one of those, you know how extremely miserable they can be. And we lovingly called that part of my body during this time of life the Ring of Fire. And like I said, if you've ever had one, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Sorry if that was TMI. So of course, I promptly went to the doctor and was put on a round of antibiotics. It went away, and I thought everything was good, so I continue on with my life, but then I had another bacterial infection with more antibiotics. Then another infection, then another, and I began to have cyclical bacterial infections and antibiotics stopped working. Then, because of all the antibiotics, I began to suffer from yeast overgrowth. Add on to yeast overgrowth some hormone upheaval to top it all off. So in addition to the chronic bacterial infections, I was now struggling with mood swings, anxiety, depression, migraines, psoriasis, dermatitis outbreaks, intense fatigue, weight gain, hair loss, food sensitivities, gas, bloating, lots of abdominal pain, intense itching, intensified seasonal allergies, and probably some other things that I'm just not thinking of right now. The doctors were stumped, and they just continued to do the only thing they knew to do, and that was to continue to try different kinds of antibiotics. This went on for about 2.5 years. 2.5 years, you guys, of non-stop rounds of antibiotics, yeast medication, progesterone, replacement pills, and so forth. I was so sick and tired of being sick and tired. This is where I would consider myself basically at rock bottom. I remember one day I had just had enough and I didn't feel like I could keep going with this struggle day in and day out anymore. And so my husband gave me a priesthood blessing. In the blessing, he basically told me that this was something I was going to have to be patient with, and that the Lord would help carry my load, but basically that this was going to be a long process. No immediate healing for me. I remember feeling so sad, but then just turning completely to the Lord and asking Him what I needed to do. What was the next step? If He would help me carry the burden, then I would put my trust in Him. So that was when my husband and I decided together that I would walk away from traditional Western medicine and begin to do our own research on alternative ways to heal my body, mind, and at this point, my spirit. I felt pretty broken. And thank heavens for the internet, that's all I have to say. What I found out from study and research was that the antibiotics had basically killed all of my good bacteria, and the bad gut bacteria became resistant to the antibiotics and flourished in my gut, causing all kinds of havoc. And what do you know, this bad gut bacteria and yeast, they feed off of sugar. So they were constantly sending signals to my brain to eat more refined sugar and carbohydrates. It was a vicious, miserable cycle. And once I realized what was happening in my body, we went on a hunt for a program or protocol that I could implement myself to heal. And we found one. I can't remember what the name of the program was called right now off the top of my head. It was over 6 years ago, but I do remember that it was intense. We were very poor, but we purchased the protocol and all the supplements and all the things that I needed to do it. And it was very restrictive, and I had to follow a very strict nutritional and supplemental protocol. And I adhered to it very well. I was so desperate, and it really worked like a charm. I didn't know it then, but for the first several weeks I got very sick, and my body underwent the healing process of detoxing and cleansing my insides. As yeast, bacteria, chemicals, and toxins, and likely other parasites and viruses began to die off, I felt terrible, but I kept going. I also lost a lot of weight, all of that extra baby weight that I couldn't get off. I actually got down to where I was before I got married. It was crazy. And once the initial detox reaction subsided, I felt amazing. I followed the protocol for 3 months and then went on a vacation to Hawaii. In Hawaii, I decided to just relax on the protocol, and I kind of went crazy on food because I'd been so restrictive for, 3 months on this protocol. And here is where my sugar and binge addictions begin to rear their ugly heads. So when I got home from Hawaii, I kept telling myself to get right back onto the protocol, but I couldn't do it. It was really hard. Rather, I would go a week or two following the strict protocol, and I would follow it up with a week or a month of binge eating on pretty much anything, but I loved sugar and refined carbs like bread, pasta, muffins, pizza, and bagels. Sometimes it got kind of crazy where I would even hide food and eat large amounts of food past the point of feeling sick when nobody was home. This made me feel guilty and shameful, and I hated myself for not being able to get my crud together. So this pattern followed me for some time, but I became more and more passionate about learning everything I could about nutrition, holistic healing, my own body with its specific needs, and what was going on in my head, and why it had become such a struggle for me to comply to something that I knew made me feel 1,000,000 times better. All of this struggle, studying, and learning helped me to learn so much about myself, and I began to heal again, this time physically, spiritually, and mentally, using new techniques of focused discipline over willpower and creating a lifestyle of whole body wellness and 80-20 balance. I also found a functional medicine doctor that helped me a ton, and she became my mentor in pursuing my own career in root cause wellness, exercise, nutrition, and lifestyle. So now let's fast forward to today. A good 6 years later, and here I am. I am now an NASM certified personal trainer, a nutritional therapy practitioner, and a 21-day sugar detox coach. I run an online 6-week program called Rock Your Body, where we focus on the 6 pillars of health and daily habits to help women create a healthy lifestyle of balance and physical, spiritual, and mental wellness. I also created a course for those who struggle with binge food addiction called Bye Bye Binge. I work part-time as the wellness specialist at a local clinic. I run local and online 21-day sugar detox programs and continue to build my personal training and nutritional therapy practice online. My mess truly became my message, and whereas I'm still not completely healed, it's something that I'm going to have to work a long time at, just as I was told in my blessing. I have come so far, and I continue to work on being a little bit better each day and give other women like me who are struggling with a lot of my same issues the education and the tools they need to become their own advocates and find solutions to their own health struggles, and not just blindly trusting the advice of our healthcare professionals. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm very grateful for doctors in Western medicine, especially when it comes to life-threatening trauma, but we still need to make a big paradigm shift in the Western medical world from symptom suppression to integrative and comprehensive care. We, as naturopaths and nutritional therapists and acupuncturists and physical therapy and chiropractic care, we need to work hand in hand with these Western medical doctors for comprehensive whole body root cause wellness care. Okay, so I won't go off on this because I could, but I want to talk to you now about what is nutritional therapy. As a nutritional therapy practitioner, I want to explain to you what nutritional therapy is and what to expect out of the webinars that are coming up. So nutritional therapy is an evidence-based approach to maximizing one's health potential through individually formulated nutritional and lifestyle changes. Nutritional therapy treats the body as a whole while seeking the root source of health concerns rather than simply treating the symptoms. I loved the philosophy of the nutritional therapy program because, like myself, I needed something more than symptom suppression. I needed to dig deeper. I needed to focus on my bio-individual needs and treat my body as a whole. As I worked to overcome my own problems, I felt drawn down this path to become a practitioner so that I could be legit and have the skills and tools to pull others out of that dark, dark place that I myself have been. And now looking back, I know that I went through the things that I did for a reason. I now know what it feels like to have a chronic illness. I now know what it feels like to have anxiety and depression, and I can deeply sympathize with others who struggle with this. I know what crazy hormones feel like. I know what it feels like to have your body and mind fall apart and you don't know why and you can't seem to get any answers. I have been there and I understand. And now my mess has become my message, and I feel truly blessed to be in a position where I can now help others find those answers so that they don't have to flounder and search for years like I had to. So what will the 6 webinars include? This is our first webinar. We're going to have 6 more. Well, nutritional therapy is based off of 6 foundations, and that's what my webinars are going to be about. I want to teach you about the 6 foundations that, when balanced, lead to optimal health. I also want to teach you how to implement what I teach with some clear action steps to give you back the power to help you become the architect of your own health. So the foundations that I will be covering in my subsequent webinar series are: number 1, diet; number 2, digestion; number 3, blood sugar; number 4, fats; 5, minerals; and number 6, hydration. During each webinar, we will explore a specific foundation, and I'll give you some practical action steps to take to improve your root cause wellness in an easy, safe, and healthy way. Due to our current culture and the standard American diet, all of us have some foundational issues to address, and many of us are walking around feeling tired, bloated, overweight, anxious, depressed, craving sugars and carbs, out of whack hormones, PMS, and so forth, and we just live with it. We think it's normal or something that we just have to live with as we get older, but that simply isn't true. We can feel, and we deserve to feel and look amazing. Our bodies were wonderfully designed, and this amazing earth we live on provides us with everything we need to be healthy, strong, fit, happy, and free from food addiction, illness, and disease. I'm so excited that you're on this journey with me, and I can't wait to get started on our foundation number 1, diet. As you follow along, be sure to take notes, and if you want to get a hold of me to ask me questions or to find out about any of my programs and or my practice, you can find me at these links. You can see that the first one is my website, then I have my email address, and then I have my business page on Facebook, and then I have a free health and fitness support group on Facebook that I would encourage you to join. That's free and open for everyone, and I run a lot of challenges on there, and it's where I do a lot of my posting and put a lot of time and effort into that group and to those people who follow me there. So until next time, until webinar number 2 where we talk about diet, have a great day, and I'm excited to see you in webinar number 2.